catch-22 of this character-driven, intuitive approach. When I was learning about storyboarding, I always heard the phrase that the story has to be character-driven. I still hear it a lot of time. What is a character-driven story? A character-driven story is one in which the desire of character drives them to take action, and these actions are what drive the story. Is there any kind of story, you may ask? The opposite of the character-driven story is one that is plot-driven. This is where the sequence of action is decided independent of character. In actually, most stories are a mixture of the two. What do your character want? This question is what drives the character-driven story. When we identify with a character, we really identify with the process of him or her wanting something. In this way, we can identify with characters who are in many ways unlike us physically or emotionally. They may be a lion, an alien, or a mermaid, but we all have the same desire. Characters have to take action to get what they desire. In this action, that will lead character into trouble based on their personality. Most characters are presented as not knowing how to deal with their desire. That's why we can relate to them. They have to use their own skill and learn new one to solve their problems. This is a very powerful. Plot and character are interconnected, but the character have to be active. In a sense, they are the one driving the story. According to Harold Innis, author of The Biased Communication, its medium has its own strengths and weakness. It has aspects it can represent well and other aspects get lost in translation. Novel excel at despising what people think. Play are really good portraying dialogue. Movie don't deal with people's internal dialogue and the way a novel can. They also doesn't restrain people inter dialogue the way a novel can. They also don't restrain people speaking with the depth they do in play. What can movie do well? Movie, like the name implies, smooth, flat camera, action. Movie show people in the action. We watch to see what people do. Specifically, we watch to see what they do under pressure, extreme pressure, and why they do it. So character-driven stories are about characters taking action to get what they want. So what's the problem? The problem is that while the driven of character are crucial, it doesn't help you structure the visual telling of your story. There are literally thousands of ways to show an action. How do you know which is to choose? Besides, often it will be the job of writer to make sure the story of character driven. They will write what each character does. The director's job is to figure out how to visually structure the story. The problem with learning about character-driven approach to storytelling is the same problem with intuition. How can you use your intuition if you don't have any experience to base it on? You have to learn how to visualize a story into a series of pictures. What can possibly go wrong? We all learn to tell a story, so telling a story in pictures should be easy, right? Well, when I was directing Piglet Pig movie, I realized that even professional storyboard artists sometimes have trouble telling a story in picture. Each of my storyboard artists has different problem with his or her storyboard. I was the director, so it was my responsibility to make sure the whole film worked. How will I be able to help them? What's wrong? What is this about the story, or was some principle being overlooked? Speaking problem. There are several problems that can arise when we speak. We can talk on and trying to say too much until we run out of breath. Yet we keep talking, possibly trying to make sure there is no silence. We can leave the talk unfinished. What was I saying? We can confuse the sentence with unnecessary tangent about breath, hearing, and other adjectives. We can mix up the tense of tomorrow. We can speak talk verbalized without pausing for punctuation. We can speak no transition between idea. Worst of all, we can speak when we have nothing to say. The result of all this is that we don't communicate what we had intended. Humpty Dumpty into the looking glass has some great advice. When I use a word, Humpty Dumpty said in a rather scorned tone, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more or neither less. The question is whether you can make word mean so many different things. The question is which is to be mastered, that's all. This is wise advice from an overconfident egg. But what does it have to do with visual storytelling? It's been said that a picture is worth 1,001 words. Give or take a few, this is their stage of learning or mistake. Why should it be a problem? If we're trying to tell a story with picture, the problem comes because the fact that the picture can say so much. We need to be able to control our picture. They say exactly what we want them to, just like Humpty Dumpty. We need to master our image. The most common type of speaking problem have a filmic equipment. When we tell a story using image, when we speak, we talk and the other thing on time. Very often, without realizing, beginner pictures say two things at once. The conflict with attention theory has stated we can only pay attention to one thing at a time. When the film is racing, by which one will your viewer look at? Suppose they see the wrong one, and this is the mystery of the storytelling. Let's look at some visual examples of this type of problem. The first one say too much. The focus is split between multiple things of interest. Filmmakers have developed technique to solve this type of problem. For example, instead of showing two things at a time, you can paint from one to the other and you can cut them other thing and you can drag focus on them. All this present one thing at a time, simply what to look at the fact that at the viewer's view. Viewers say, here's the camera plan from one thing to another. Understanding common problem can fix a lot of feeling problems and most importantly help ensure that the film say what you think it say as a quick illustration of that. When I storyboard our Pocahontas, the farewell and skin was flat. It was no motion. There was a major problem for here. We're two impulsive lovers who want to be together but they knew they had to part for no reason. The problem was that this tragic screenplay had been part for no reason. The problem was this tragic screenplay like an ending summer camp movie. See you next summer. I realized that the saying Pocahontas was supposed to be a feeling lonely, yet the screen called for her to be surrounded continuously by a group of people. The image telling the story never showed Pocahontas alone, which is exactly how she felt. The image didn't say what the filmmaker thought they were saying, and the audience won't have gotten the message they want to convey. So what were the problem with my storyboard artists on a Piglet Pig movie? I realized that they were speaking problems, and once my artists became aware of them, they easily fixed them. There are always problems in making a movie, but the result is a count. I think they did an awesome job. Let's discuss some of this problem. I had one artist who suffered from run-on sentence. His constant just on and on, and almost like he gave a coverage. Coverage is extra footage shot to cover potential problem in the editing room. But this wasn't live action, it was animation. Unfortunately, I ended up having to cut most of his charming drawing. Lack of punctuation was the drawback of another one of my storyboard artists. When a stand-up comic tells a joke, he or she set up the joke, pause, then deliver the punchline. Wait for the laughter to die down, then continue on with routine. If you don't wait for the laughter to recede, the audience will miss the beginning for the next joke. In the case within this picture, you can miss the punchline. My storyboard artist would have the drawing out of punchlines, which was well drawn, but rather than holding that drawing for a bit, he added a character coming into the shot and every same drawing. The result was that the viewer eyes went to the new character coming in frame instead of seeing the punchline. I spoiled the joke. And here's the punchline. Wait, who's answering? They're staring on the punchline just running the joke. It was creating a sentence without preadil. Punctuation is crucial for our determination the meaning of things. Whether is there pause, a comma, or full stop of period of exclamation of an exclamation point. Wikipedia describes a Shaggy Dog story is extremely long-winded talent featuring extensive narration of typical irrelevant, indecent, usually resulting in pointless and absurd punchline. This can be a real danger of any kind of storyteller, and sure enough, one of my storyboard artists suffered from this melancholic too. The problem is that the 10 games doesn't drag the story along, and you change losing the audience because they lost what the story is about. Incorrect grammar is comparable to poor sequence of visual image. This breaks the flow of time or cause the affect relationship. Another related problem is not using connective to connect different idea. When we speak, we use words like and so to make sentence flow. We learn much more to creating flow when we talk about editing. The word speaking problem of our leg is something important to say. This occurs visually when there is nothing happen in the frame or words said at the story level. Catch 22 Revisit. When I was a teenager, I got my first movie camera. It was a Super 8 color without sound. Film we're processing was about $9. It took about a week to process the film, and it gave my friend and I only 3 minutes on film. Editing was accomplished on a small hand-cracked movie editor with a invisible tape. This experience taught me a number of things. One, that I was very impatient. It was real hard to wait a week to see the result of a shot. Second, I learned that making a movie that was a lot of work involving a lot of pre-planning, but that it was a lot of fun. Third, we had to be very careful with the shot because the filming was expensive. We need to be choice of our shot, but more importantly, because there was no sound, we had to tell our story visually. We learned the follow of old proverb, necessity is the mother of invention. We learned to improve. An example, the first camera didn't have a single frame release. This is required to shoot animation with a shot 1 frame at a time. Therefore, I invited what we need. I put the camera on a tripod and made a little level next to the record button. I tried a string to lever and with a stone tuck. The camera fired off 1 frame. Special effect was another round where we needed to be invited by. Director effect didn't exist back then. You either had to shot the effect line of use at an official printer, we chose to shoot them live. We made our own homage to the TV star Star Trek. We shot a model of Enterprise spaceship against a blade cloth for the spacesuit. Halloween masks were handy and we needed a monster. But we also learned mold making, makeup, custom design, pajama shirt with a cardboard page covered in glitter just like a Star Trek uniform on film. Painted cardboard box formed in the console of the ship's bridge, and the Super 8 movie screen made for a great bridge monitor for spotting Klingon's spacecraft. So, how did a bunch of kids make a movie without any instructions? Actually, that's a trick question. We did have an instruction, only just wasn't a formal instruction. We had a limited life experience, but we had some understanding as how things work. We also knew how to speak and tell story verbally. Everyone learned this growing up, but how did we know how to tell story visually? We learned by watching TV. This gave us the basic skill, but not enough to avoid being boring or confusing. Sometimes our film suffered from both problems, but we got better. Things are very different today. For most families have camcorders, and you can buy 2 or 3 DV digital video, tape out about $9. Some camera have built-in hard drive that store hours of video. No more 3-minute limit. They each last an hour and with full stereo sound. You can even mix sound at the home. Armed with a video camera and computer load with Apple's eMovie editing software is equivalent. You can literally shoot a featuring film, create a digital spatial effect, and add your score and sound effect, and deliver it on DVD. Post it on the Instagram. The filmmaking can still be just as much as fun as your imagined flow. Before we continue, let's see Scar's double in doing. As you last remember, she is arrived in the gate of the Sultan Palace Department to stop the Sultan Mentas and find out what happened to the missing brides. A shadow deep in the sap Scarcrabble and Isabel wait on Angelus. The king feasted greets them. They bow to the face car. Freezer this way. The clam and Majesty step in silent. Devouring the vision of the creature, it say, not now. What is there? That is yours, Mr. Vicky. They entered and wait. What do directors direct? Another question that I asked my class, what does a director direct? Most of them was not talk about it. Their answer offer a wide range of possibilities. The director direct the story, the actor, the crew, the camera, the lighting once again. All the answers to this question are true. Then I asked, does knowing that the director directs all of these things help tell you how to become a better director? The answer that comes back is no. When I get an answer that doesn't specifically let me know how to make a better movie, usually tell me that I haven't dug deep enough. Remember the goal we're after? We want to give our audience an emotional satisfying experience, maybe a better qualification. Look for another image. This is one opposite first and there's too much going on. We don't know what we're looking for and what we're looking for. What do you feel? We show the image state and it's boring because it's nothing is happening. Most people seeing an image feel confused. If your audience is confused, they won't be able to follow your story. So we have two extremes, boredom and confusion. The enemy of a goal design, they have both unemotionally, one form of lack emotion and the other from a stationary bombardment. Of too much information, we need to find a middle path, a fine mess. My first personal experience of storyboard was on Disney Aladdin. I have storyboard before, but this was different. This was a big time. I was given the scene where Aladdin is supposed to detect a merchant which is a complex Abu, his monkey, steal some food. I had the script, paper and pencils, well as that. So I thought until I realized that the storyboarding is really the first pass at directing. My reaction, total panic. I have ton of questions and no place to get answer. How many drawings do I use? What are the story beats? How much detail to put it in? Where I can put the camera on? Why do I cut? What will make creative? What are the writers looking for? What's my goal? What did I do? What can I do? Well, other storyboard artists made a lot of drawings, so I just started making a lot of drawing. Then it got to a pitch description, it was a giant mess. No one knew where the character were. The pacing was all off. Worst of all, it wasn't entertaining. In fact, it was boring and confusing. Then came even worse news. The director John Master suggested maybe I can start storyboard. No! I screamed in my head, of course. Character Ron Gelsons and John had liked my visual development ideas and character design. They took me off storyboarding and put me back in visual development. I was given a new task of developing the magic carpet ride. I had to prove myself, but how? Once again, I have the script, paper and pencil. I start drawing. No, it's probably more correct to say that this time I start creating image. I found the big key bits in the skin. I start to see a connection between image and put them into a sequence order. I added drawing to connect idea and make it flow. This plan was a whole new world, and it back up a whole new world for me. They put me back a storyboarding and the sequence back to the Win Academy Award for Best Song. A story like a giant knot, and we have to unravel and show the audience how all the pieces connect in a linear way. And then tie it all back to them, and at the end, it's not what creating the drawing as much as declining which image should be shown when. Clear and dramatic fights, confusion and boredom, often beginners' work, can be boring and confusing. It helps to remember the old acronym KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. We are going to fight confusion with the learning how to be clear. In other words, we are going to fight confusion with the clarity. We are going to fight boredom with drama, careful editing. Boredom results from a lack of dramatic question. You must arouse the interest of audience to make them want to know what's going to happen next. Director emotional indirect by holding attention as you tell the story. The speaking metaphor. The discovery of speaking problem led me to create a technique that I call the speaking metaphor of storytelling. It's simple. We all tell a story with a picture just as we are speaking in the word. We put noun and verb into the series of pictures. Each time we have a new idea, we add a new image. Just remember, present one idea at a time. It's really that simple, clearly. With your image, don't let them confusing. If we hard Cardian rules, then we can run into speaking problem. Let's see how this works. The script describes a squirrel that sits on a branch in the forest above a cat. We can't spotlight that this a camera move. Let's verbally the story drawing in and drawing boxes from frame to action. Basically, we're deciding the framing for each part of the sentence. Some verbs have inherent dramatic quality to them. For example, flirting, making pacts, betray, fight, challenge, lie, cheat, promise, and steal them to tell a story. Non-dramatic verbs might include a walk, celebration, chop wood, read, and sleep. The difference is that the dramatic verbs have unknown answer to a narrative question. Non-dramatic one will have the outcome. Since we are now to easily guess what will happen to this interest, the squirrel sitting the image and verb can cut sitting below add dramatic interest in email. Show and tell. How do you tell a story with a picture? Let's start simply as action. Put it into a series of pictures. Here's our action. Someone pick up something. That the first image shows someone holding something. We didn't see what he picked up. He could have taken it out of his pocket. All we know is he holding something and looking at it. We need to show a series of drawing, each showing on one stage of the action. Most actions have at least 3 stages. The anticipation of action, the action itself, and the aftermath are follow-through. We need to show the anticipation of picking up the object, the actual picking up, and finally showing it already picked up.